What a place to live. Eat your tea, jump in the car, 10 minutes later you're at a fantastic orchid site. Castor Hanglands. Good to see common spotted orchids getting close to fully open. I've just not seen them anywhere else. I kind of hoped, but also expected that Castor, their own population, would be doing their own thing, and they are. Interesting markings on that one, slightly different to the norm. Sort of broken up lines. A bit weird. Some strangely sort of reflexed flowers lower down this one. Sort of things you get when early marsh orchids start messing around, but it's common spotted. Whether it once had a tangle with an early marsh, I don't know. It's unusual to see the flowers bending back like that on a common spotted. But yeah, saw this one a few yards away and thought, ooh, southern marsh orchid. It stood out, but clearly isn't. It's just a wonderfully marked common spotted. Very nice. Well, at last we found something that's slightly different, slightly special. I thought that was a pale form of southern marsh orchid, but it's actually a hybrid. There are some spots on the leaves, so it's a hybrid with common spotted, but it's nice to see anything vaguely connected with a southern marsh orchid. And to see a nice pale form as well, even if it is part hybrid. That's good, that's nice. I don't think I'm going to see a better one than that today in Castor. So I'm going to go early on this one and call that my orchid of the day. Still a few early marsh incarnata growing. In fact, quite a lot still. Some of them have gone over. Some still looking good, like this one. Interesting to compare these early marsh with those that we saw at full-born fen. I mean, these are smaller. The full-born fen ones are always bigger, but the colour's still in these and the markings are still in these. If you look back at the full-born fen ones, they just bleach out into that sort of very pale, almost white flower. I mean, I much prefer these that keep their colour, small or not. Another one of these that I don't know, this is less convincing than the previous one. Similar colour scheme, similar hints of southern marsh, but more of a hint of common spotted on this one. I'm not sure about this one. That's nice, I like that. With the darker purple on the top and the pale in the centre. You know what? I think that one I said was the orchid of the day a few seconds ago. I've just stolen the trophy off it, because this is my orchid of the day. I really like that. Lovely colours. Lovely markings again on that one. Not sure how I spotted this one. It's about 3 inches, 4 inches tall in quite long grass. But I've cleared it away and had a look, and the leaves have no markings on it. And it is, as I first thought, a southern marsh orchid. Pure southern marsh orchid. Which is good to see, because I think 1 to 3 is the norm here in any season. So there's the one. Very happy to see that. Look at the markings on that one. Very in your face, freshly opened. Probably will fade as it gets older, but at the moment that is bold. A nice whitish one. Can't find a pure white, but that's nice. Right, well, I've been to the top of the field and I'm heading back down it now for a second look. Yeah, being honest, distinctly uninspiring so far. Not great in numbers, not great in quality either. But yeah, it's good to see that southern marsh orchid. That's one of the more special items ticked off. No white common spotteds yet, no hybrids of significance. We've seen some interesting hybrids here before, not seen anything yet that's really screaming out, but as I say, still got a little bit to go. I did gloss over the first bit of the field. I'm going to go in there with a little bit more detail, see if something crops up to save the evening. This is kind of what's bothering me at the moment. This grass is too long. I mean, there's orchids in here, but they are fighting for their lives to get above this lot. There's something quite nice down here. Let's see if I can get through the grass to get closer. Well, there you go. Nice to fight my way through the jungle. I don't know. That does not look like a common spotted orchid. The leaf shape doesn't look right. The markings don't look right either. These are not dissimilar to some of the hybrids we saw last year that we decided in the end were early marsh orchid, cross common spotted orchid. I'm not sure this is. I'm going to look at this on the computer when I get home, really. There are markings on the leaves, but only very, very faint markings. They're almost plain leaves. Could be a hybrid. I don't know. I'm not going to call it till I get home. Another great set of markings. Seems to be this season's thing, these really bold markings, particularly at the top of the plant on the newer, fresher opened leaves. Sorry, calling them leaves again. Freshly opened flowers. That's so close. It could be a white. If you look at the buds at the top, they're white. I thought I could see some faint markings, but that could be a white. I'll look closer when I get home. Some weird common spotted orchids out here. It's got three very distinct lobes with like a run of dots going down each one. Looks quite unusual. It's a bit knackered and going over, but wow, that is in your face in terms of markings. I'd like to have seen that when it was at its best. Really bright. I think you've got to crawl through this place on your hands and knees. Some of these very nice common spotted orchids are 3 to 4 inches tall and no more. You remember I said at Full-Born Fen the other day, you don't get pale southern marsh orchids in Peterborough. Well, what a load of rubbish. I've never seen one here before, but this is a full-on southern marsh orchid, no spots on leaves, and it's a pale form, and simply because of where it is, and I've never seen one here before. This is a clonker, definitely a clonker. Welcome to Castor Hanglands. Lovely markings again. Another one to look at when I get back to base. It's right in the area of where last season's hybrids were, early Marsh, Common Spotted, and that could be one. I say could be one. Suspiciously pink colouring at the top, typical of early Marsh, and the markings, yeah, gonna have to have a look at that one. Nice orchid either way, lovely colour. All superb markings. That's really nice. That's an unusual pair. I mean, spotted leaves on the face of it. Common spotted orchids, but that colour scheme is unusual. Certainly for Castor, that's an unusual colour scheme for common spotted orchids. Definitely. Interesting. Brilliant markings, absolutely brilliant markings on that. I mean, it's almost reddish purple. We're going to have two clonkers in one visit. Yeah, I reckon we should. Let me just get the stamp out. Here we go. Double clonker. I mean, that is really, really nice. Really, really nice. More of these suspiciously pale common spotted orchids. Unusual. Well, there you go. Castor Hanglands. visit one, I'll probably have to come back. You know, a lot of these are halfway through growth. They're going to get bigger. What has struck me though is that they ain't going to get much bigger. There's usually some mighty big common spotted orchids here, you know, running to 3 foot tall, real big stout plants, and they're just not here. And they're not going to be here either. They're all going to be fairly small. 12 inches is big this year. It's going to be, you know, most of these are 3 to 4 inches off the ground. As I said earlier, you need to walk around on your hands and knees to actually identify whether anything is unusual or not. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing in that respect, but there is variety here, and there always is, and it's worth getting down on your hands and knees for. And as you've seen on some of the ones that we've covered, some fantastic, absolutely fantastic markings. It's just a pity they're not bigger. I'm concerned about this, you know. It's too long. This is longer than it usually is, and yeah, something needs to be done, because I don't know, it'll just smother them. They are battling their way to get up to the light, really, but they're well down. If you walk in the long grass, you find common spotted orchids about halfway up the height of the grass, and they're not going to climb above it. So hopefully somebody's going to have another look at this and take it back to where it was, because it definitely needs to be shorter grass. Having had a moan, we found true southern marsh orchid. We found pale southern marsh orchid, never seen that before. That's made the whole trip worthwhile, and that makes up for most of the negatives, to find a pale form of southern marsh orchid. And as usual, at the bottom end of the field near the pond, as was the case last year, there are some interesting looking plants, and at the moment I wouldn't want to say what they were. I was a bit cagey last year. I decided there was some early marsh going on in there with common spotteds, but no one was ever too sure, so I'm going to have a look at them again. But there's certainly some interesting plants down there, and that's the best part of the site, as it was last year. So a mixed bag. I'll probably give it 10 to 14 days and come back and see whether anything dramatic changes for phase 2. There are some still in bud, so I don't know what's going to come out of those buds. So as usual, we'll come back for a second one. But yeah, great evening, lovely weather, very peaceful. It was still fun.